Have you asked yourself this important question? Why do we actually learn? Why do you learn a new skill? I guess the answer to that question is pretty obvious. No, for the average person. You'd say we actually learn because we will use the skills to better our lives. So you learn a new skill like programming so that you can become better at coding and you could use that and make money. It is important for you to understand that the answer you give to that question is very critical for your life because it will actually determine whether you have a healthy brain or an unhealthy brain. Whether you have a creative mindset that can solve problems or not. It could also mean whether you're a good person or a bad person. And most probably, whether you have the likelihood of suffering some kind of a brain damage or disease when you get older or not. Hello and welcome. Thanks again for joining me in this edition of Clear Thinking Digest. Today I'm going to be talking about an important thing that determines our life. And I'm here talking about infinite learning. Now, this is a very important thing that deals with every aspect of our life. It determines to a large extent how successful you're going to get in the course of your life. And it actually also determines your mental health. The reason why I said it is because learning is at the heart of how our mind works and how our brain functions. And it's important that we understand the mechanisms in place that actually govern that, and so that you can leverage its utility. To understand what infinite learning is all about and how you can utilize it in your life, let's try to understand what learning is in the first place. I define learning as the ability to process information, store it, and then retrieve it for future use. And pretty basically, that's the definition you're going to get if you visit most dictionaries, and that's the generic definition of learning. But if you look at that definition closely, you will understand that in that definition, it actually means that if learning is a process, the ability of taking information, processing that information, storing it, and then retrieving it for future use. It means that at the core of learning, at the heart of learning, is growth in itself. So what it means is that learning is a growth process. Learning of itself is a growth process. You actually learn or you die. You grow or you die. Every species, every life form on Earth goes through the process of learning, or else it will go into extinction. Learning in itself is equally a holistic process. It is a multi-purpose, a multi-purpose system. Now, if you're a car driver, let's say, and you fly around, and you pretty much understand the routes, the different routes within the vicinity that you drive. Let's say you're an Uber driver. Because of the skill that driving gives you, you're pretty much very good at navigation. So as a result of being a car driver or a taxi driver, your navigational skills equally improve. If you play the guitar, if you are a sculptor, if you are a craftsman, if you are any person that your work requires the use of your hands, what it means is that you are dexterous. And what that means is that the areas of your brain that deal with the usage of your hand in thinking and in getting jobs done are pretty much advanced, are pretty much highly developed. So what it means is that you're not going to be only good in playing the guitar or being a craftsman, depending on what you particularly do. You're equally going to be good in doing pretty much every other thing that requires the use of hands to a large extent. You're going to learn how to do other things that will require the use of hand pretty much faster than a person that is not involved in those kind of skill, that doesn't have a previous skill that requires dexterity. This is very key because it helps us to answer the question that I asked in the beginning: why do we actually learn? And it's at the heart of why we actually learn. Now, so if being good at a particular skill gives you the ability to become good at so many other things, what it means is that learning in itself, learning a skill in itself, is actually not an end game. It's a holistic process. And when you learn a particular thing, the skill spreads across many other areas of your life. So if that is the case, then why would you think that learning is only for a particular purpose? The reason why you would think that is because you have what I call a finite mindset. There are two kinds of mindsets: finite and infinite mindset. A finite mindset is a mindset that sees learning as an end game, that sees learning as a finite game, a game that has a beginning and an end. And so you do it for a short period of time for a specific purpose, and that's it. Now, I'm not saying that it's not good to set out to learn a particular skill, maybe for using it to increase your earning power. Let's say you learn graphic design because you want to become very good in that, and so that you can earn from that. That is not in and of itself a bad thing. But if that is the only purpose, if that is the only reason that is behind your learning process, that whenever you want to engage in learning, it must be that it is for a particular end that will help you most probably earn, then that's very dangerous, because that what it means is that you have a finite mindset. So what happens when you become rich, when you become comfortable to some extent, when your earning power is no longer tied to a particular skill that you have learned? Let's say you have great investments that turnover money for you. What happens? And this is what we see in the lives of many people that we actually revere or many respect, and people will actually see as educated. What it means is that when you get to that particular point, you plateau and then you stop learning, because your earning power is no longer directly tied to the particular skill that you learn. And so you stop learning. And this is a very dangerous mindset. The second kind of mindset is an infinite learning mindset. And this is the mindset that I talked about in my book, The Journey to 1%. And it's the kind of mindset that I have devoted my life in understanding how it works and how to impact others, with the ability to learn how to utilize it. So when I talk to my students, I tell them that you pretty much incentivize to develop an infinite learning mindset, as again developing a finite learning mindset, because it helps you in almost every area of your life. So what if you learn for its own sake? Like what the ancients, Aristotle, the ancient philosopher, Greek philosophers will say, that philosophy, which comes from the two Greek words, philo and sophia, the love of wisdom, means that we learn for its own sake, that we seek knowledge for its own sake, and not just for a particular end. The reason for that is that it pretty much will determine to a large extent how healthy your brain is and how unhealthy your brain is going to become. So what is actually a healthy brain? I love an interesting definition that was given by Sanjay Gupta, and he defined a healthy brain as a brain that has a wider circle of you. A brain that has a wider circle of you. So what it means is that a healthy brain is a brain that has a bigger circle of memories, that has a huge amount of memories, that has a huge amount of pathways. And what we are talking about here is neurogenesis. In the past, we thought that the human brain couldn't develop new brain cells once you got to a certain age. Let's say once you become older, it was only reserved for kids. But further research that has been done in neuroscience has now shown that you can actually develop new brain cells even as an adult. And that is what is called neurogenesis. But that only comes with a caveat. When you learn a totally new skill, let's say like when you learn a new language, or when you learn a skill that is totally out of your own area of expertise, what happens is that you grow new brain cells. So when we talk about that a healthy brain is a brain that has a wider circle of you, what it means is that you have a huge reservoir of memories that you can plug into. And what does that mean? It means that you have much wider neural pathways, because bigger memories means more neural pathways. So what it means is that if you engage in learning different kind of skills, you are creating numerous pathways in your brain. Now, that will determine to a large extent how healthy your brain is and is not going to be. And it's going to determine whether you're susceptible to suffering from dementia or other brain diseases or not, to a large extent. Because research carried out by neuroscientists on patients that suffer dementia showed that a lot of them actually developed the plaques that blocked pathways in the brain, the plaques that actually led to the dementia years before they started showing symptoms of dementia. And further research has also showed that some people have these plaques in their brain and eventually they don't become symptomatic. So what it actually means is that they have developed different pathways in their brain that can enable them to bypass, so that when a particular pathway is blocked, you can actually use another one. Now, there's a whole lot of scientific literature on this fact that you can go and look up. But I encourage you to read the book of Sanjay Gupta, and you will learn more about this. Another usefulness of learning skills, of having an infinite mindset that encourages you to learn for its own sake and not just for a particular end, is that it helps you in pattern recognition. It helps you in being creative. Now, if you learn different skills, if you learn different languages, and if you have a bigger memory because of the many things that you've learned, it enables you to tap into different memories when you're faced with a problem to solve. So what it means is that you have many sources of information from which you can think around and come out with a creative solution. So this is why it's important that you invest in creating more memories through infinite learning. So infinite learning in itself is one of the most powerful investments that you can make if you develop that mindset. It's going to help your lifestyle. It's going to help your mental health. It's going to help you increase your earning power. It's going to help you in many ways. So I encourage you to please invest in this, because your life actually depends on it. So thank you so much for joining me in this edition of Clear Thinking Digest. I hope you did enjoy this edition. Please leave your comments in the comment section if you've got any questions or any comments for more clarifications on what I have discussed in this video. Please leave your comments and I will attend to that in due time. I equally encourage you to please subscribe to this channel. If you're seeing this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. And if you're on Facebook, please hit the notification button and also like my page so that you can get these videos as they drop every week. Thank you so much for joining me in this edition, and I'll see you again next week.